So while I was demoing and showing you guys how to wear this color pink peppermint, y'all need to check this out. Check the video out. I wanted to come on and share with you guys how I thought that I was going to be a MAC girl and how my goal in life was to work for MAC. Also, one of my goals in life was to work for Bath and Body Works, but leave it alone. Everybody have they dream. It's still one of my dreams. I may dress up as a Bath and Body Works girl. I might dress up as a MAC girl for Halloween. Who knows? But those were two places that I knew that I was going to work. But one I wanted to be was a die-hard MAC girl. I just knew I was going to be a MAC girl. I had the makeup, the fun looks. I knew about the drops, the collections, everything I needed to know about MAC. But baby, for some reason, it just was not meant for me to work for MAC. And I'm not saying that that dream is deferred. I'm hoping one day maybe I could, if it's part-time work or whatever. But I just knew that I was going to be a MAC girl. So let me tell y'all the story. Also, excuse the little slow motions in this video I'm filming from my iPhone. I don't know what's going on with that, but let's get into the story, okay? So my background is medical. I have a medical background, but I believe in branching out and having more than just one talent. I call myself multifaceted. So even though I still consider myself a freelance makeup artist, doing makeup has slowed down for me. But let's just backtrack a couple of years, maybe almost 10 years ago, to the years, let's talk about, I want to say between 2013 and 2016, right? I was kind of burnt out with the medical field and I wanted to work for MAC. MAC was coming to our local dealer, it was going to be a freestand. It was a freestand. So it wasn't the full MAC store, but we was excited because, if you wanted MAC, you had to either order all online or get somebody to get it for you, which I was grateful that some of the collections that I couldn't catch, I was in a makeup group and she made sure that everybody who wanted a collection, would get it. And I'm always thankful to Umi for that or whatnot. Or you had to go to New Orleans or Baton Rouge to go get it. And I didn't travel very much. And one day when I'm ready to tell my story, you'll understand, right? So I knew that I wanted to work for MAC. I used to watch these collections, stalk beauty bloggers and all this, and I just knew right off the bat when I first started doing makeup, if I haven't archived majority of those videos, you can probably go down on YouTube and just binge watch videos to see my growth and what I'm telling y'all. I knew that I was going to be a MAC girl. I wanted to work for MAC, right? It's important that when you want to do something or you want to pursue something, keep it to yourself when you're trying to pursue something, because there are dream killers out there. But I also firmly believe that everything about us is written in our book of life. And when God wants to bless us with something to have, no matter how many times people will talk bad about you or talk against it, what's meant for you, God already has it in your book of life. But anyway, I knew I wanted to be in MAC. Like I said, I knew all of the collections, all of the drops. MAC was my place to be, right? So, of course, I have no retail experience and I'm a freelance makeup artist. I wasn't really good at artistry. At that time, I really didn't know how to color correct or color match. But I knew that if people gave me more business and gave me, more time, that I believe that everything is an experience. When you go to school to be taught anything, they're not teaching you how to do the job. They're teaching you how to pass the state board. So my phone is tripping, you guys, but I'm trying to work through as I talk about this or whatever. So again, I will follow. At that time, it was blogs where you really had to blog. Not too many people were Instagram. I don't think Instagram hadn't made the cut yet, and neither TikTok. TikTok wasn't even near in existence. So you had beauty blogs, you had Facebook, and then MySpace had been going out, and then you had YouTube, and so YouTube was still new. Believe it or not, I have been on YouTube since 2010. That's how long I've been, and I haven't made it to that level. But not to say that I won't make it to that level. Everything takes time. You know what I'm saying? Success takes time, and that's one thing I learned is to how to develop patience. So anyway, I didn't apply for the Mac right then and there or whatnot because, like I said, my background was still medical, and but I was getting burnt out on medical. Everything that was happening on a job was starting to worry my spirit, right? And I knew that if I wanted to be, I had this vision in my head, and I was like, if I can get on at Mac and make it with Mac, then I know that I can. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be this. You know, you just have this wild and crazy vision. Like I just knew I was gonna be doing New York Fashion Week and all that. Not to say that things like that won't ever happen to people. You know, like I said, I do believe that when God has your book of life written out for you, anything that is meant for you, it's going to come to you. You don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to come, right? If you believe, right? So a few years later, I think Mac was like there for a couple of maybe like a year later. I applied to work at Mac. Boom, I get this phone call, right? Out the clear blue, like I'm driving to work. I want to say that was my second job that I was going to at the time. And I ended up getting this call, right, from Dillard's. And they were saying, you know, they had got my application. Well, the girl at the time who was the manager for Mac didn't feel like I fitted Mac, but she wanted me to fit in at the fashion fair counter to gain retail experience. But when you know, you know. You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't care because I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my foot through the door. I'm gonna do real good here, and then I'm gonna gain the experience, and then I'm gonna start working for Mac. Let's just say, like, if you know the beauty world, you know, influencer world, y'all, if you are a heavy content creator like myself, you already know that there's going to be a bunch of mean girls, and there's going to be people who is going to do their best to try to sabotage you or what. And, you know, things take time, especially if you don't work with a manager or you're not in a state that is, that people come to that would think that makeup artists can reside. I was excited to take the job or whatever. At the time, I wasn't making anything an hour. So when they gave me what they were making an hour, I'm thinking, hey, you know, I'm about to roll in the big bucks now. You know what I'm saying? I'm going into retail. I learned a lot about retail, baby. It's all about the sales. And I had no selling experience or nothing. All I know is I had makeup, a little makeup experience, and I knew that people were going to come to my counter to support me, and people were going to come to my counter to get their makeup done. And I had to learn about this brand fashion fair, which I've already knew because my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, and myself, we wore fashion fair, but they had left out a little secret to get me in there, right? And so anyway, I ended up getting on. I ended up getting hired. I'm so excited or whatever. Now, mind you, um, now in retail, you have two things you have to learn to do. You have to have selling experience, which means you have to learn how to talk to people, which means you need to be a people person to make the sale. But most important, you need to look the part. You need to have looks. So if you're going into retail or whatever, you don't have to go buy expensive. You know, start buying you some cute little clothes now. But how I dressed, when I look back when I got the interview, wasn't how you professionally would get the interview, you know what I'm saying? But I got the job, and I was just thinking it was just a grace of God, you know what I'm saying? And so there was a lot of things that I had to learn. And another thing that I had to learn was who you are working for. So we had a boss that was young. I was older than her, right? And for some reason, she didn't care for you know, her older sales reps. She cared for the young girls. So anything that I would try to learn or any questions that I would kind of learn, we would get into a battle to the point to where we actually got into it, right? It was times that I would do orders and I would get in trouble for the orders not coming in. And then one day when she went on vacation, a lady that was working in the shoe department that was also a manager of the shoe department discovered that she was hiding all of my stuff at the back of the computer and she was never putting it in. Little did I also know that fashion fair was dwindling out. Now, doing all of this is why you never really speak up for yourself, or you just let God fight your battles for you. Everyone, including the manager that was over at Mac. When the girl at Mac, and at that time I think that she was finally going back to New Orleans where she came from. She came to apologize and she was like, I'm really sorry, I didn't think this would happen. But as I was working the fashion fair counter, I wasn't getting much because again, fashion fair was dwindling out and was phasing out and was closing. They're back up and running. They're in Sephora now. But at that time when I was working the counter, And I did get a lot of offers to come to New Orleans, but I didn't. I was, like I said, when I tell my story, people would understand. Okay, I felt like that would have got me in there, but it would have been costly with gas going back and forth because I would be having to drive an hour and a half away. But at that time and where I was in that state of mind that I was, it was going to be damn near impossible because I was my own person trying to support myself, and I'm gonna leave it like that until I'm ready to tell my story. But anyway, as I was saying, she apologized, and a lot of times when I was working at the counter, I would hear people say stuff like, she needs to be over at Mac. That girl needs to be over at Mac. It was so bad I would hang at Mac so much because I was barely getting any sales for Fashion Fair because people wanted Mac. She would get mad and tell me not to go around the Mac counter or anything like that. So like I said, you can work around people. You don't have to do people anything in the world. If you have a natural aura about yourself, it's going to irritate demonic, vindictive people. And that's what it did. Like, why would you not want me to go to Mac? Why would you not talk to them and say, hey, she needs to get the retail experience. She fits you guys. She really needs to get that retail experience. You know what I'm saying? And I think that she would do phenomenal here at Mac because Fashion Fair is dwindling out. You know what I'm saying? We're not even getting any shipment anymore for, and I don't want to lose her as a worker. So y'all would want to work with her. But like I said, you don't have to do people nothing for people to have evil spirits and evil intent across, you know what I'm saying? And that will be for another video. Like I said, I'm a freelance makeup artist, but we'll talk about that in another video. So needless to say, I never did get on it at that Mac. Now fast forward about 2 years later. Yeah, it was about 2 years later. I had heard about, I was on Instagram, and was it Instagram or did somebody tag me? Either I was on Instagram or somebody tagged me and said that Mac was doing some interviews in New Orleans. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go and do it, right? And I did, right? So I applied, and next thing you know, I get a phone call back. I got a phone call back. I'm all excited or whatever. Like I said, when you are surrounded by people who don't have good intent, I ended up, the girl had faith in me. She really did. She really saw me. And at that time, I really felt like that would have been my meal ticket from the hell I was going through. And it ended up not just being my time. Needless to say, she did let me go on to do the model. I color correct perfectly. She gave it, but she was pissed. How could you miss something that was so important to you, that you literally said the day before that this was so important to you? And at that time, I was very naive to a lot of things, but life lessons has taught me that as I look back on this situation, you really don't have friends. You really don't have friends. You really don't have support, especially if they figure that you might make it from them. Now, mind you, they can have more than you. They just don't want you to have it. You understand what I'm saying? And that, you know, that's how I felt the case was, right? Because a part of me really felt like I should have got a motel room and stayed out there. Therefore, I could have been out there bright and early. But I decided to go home because I thought I was doing the right thing. Needless to say, let's go many years later, that at the end of the day, they're going to always go with what they want to do. All right. So I really wanted to be like a Mac girl. I knew too much about Mac, and she knew I knew too much about Mac. She was like, you know, she was really mad and upset. And at that time, you know, one of the girls gave me some encouraging words. One girl that was a model, and she said, never stop trying. One day you'll be with Mac. And I had applied at this time, applied to Mac, to work for Mac like 40 times. 40 times. I've applied to work for Mac, Sephora, and Ulta 40 plus times. Mac was the only one that actually gave me the interview. Sephora never gave me the interview. They always gave me the Sephora freestanding store that was in JCPenney's. They always gave me the runaround, so did Ulta. And at that point, I just felt like it was best for me to be just to be a freelance makeup artist and try to land brand deals. Okay, so my mic ended up dying like right in the middle of me telling that part. So basically, like I said, I ended up getting the interview, and even though she was mad and she was pissed because I was part of her team, she picked me to be a part of her team, and she saw the potential. She still went on and allowed me to do the video, and I could understand that. Looking back, you can understand. You have someone who's very passionate about something and very serious can fumble something that is so important to them at the time, right? And on my journey that I'm going through right now, I do realize that you have to do it by all means necessary. So I went on to do it, and she was mad at me. She jerked the foundation powder out of my hand. I would never forget that. And she was like, "What happened? What happened?" And I was like, I didn't want to blame the person. I was like, they were doing the role, which they were. But I look back, there's a lot of things and a lot of people that played a part in that or whatever. When you're not surrounded by, regardless of what people say, when you're not surrounded by people that have that good intent with you, you'll end up shrinking yourself to be on the level of certain people, right? But we're not going to place the blame. It just wasn't meant. The model ended up giving me some encouragement and was like, never stop my dream. Now, mind you, at this time, I had already applied to Mac Sephora, the freestanding store in Sephora, when Sephora was in JCPenney, and Ulta like 40 times. I don't think that anybody ever got those applications. I think that when I was putting those applications, they were just ripping them up and throwing them away. So I don't know how my application for Mac made it to Dillard's, right? But, needless to say, everything is a lesson learned. And I applied like 40 times again, and I had given up. And so for me, it was very heartbreaking. Nobody saw the cry. I just put on Facebook at the time. I was like, I didn't make the cut or whatever. I did meet somebody. I was like, I didn't make the cut or whatever. We'll try again. Needless to say, I never tried again. Needless to say, I never ever tried again. And when I would go back to Dillard's, by then I was long gone from Dillard's because I just wasn't happy there at all. You know what I'm saying? I was thrown into the back of a store and forgotten about any ideas that I had. It was shelved. So I had ended up just walking away from Dillard's, right? If I ever was apply again, I definitely wouldn't do makeup. But unless it's at the Mac, and it'd probably be like part-time or something like that. But I don't think that I would ever apply again. But yeah, it was a lesson learned. You know what I'm saying? To go after my dream and just not get it, right? But I was still a good sport about it, and I was trying to be being supportive. You can support people, and they'll be catty towards you or whatever. They'll view you as competition. To me, I feel like I have no competition. You know what I'm saying? I am my competition, the me that I was yesterday versus the me that I am today. But yeah, that's how I wanted to be at Mac. I mean, I knew so much about Mac, y'all. I don't know what I could say, it was obsession. But some of the girls would be at the counter thinking that they were going to surprise me. And I'll be like, oh, so you knew about the Archie collection, right? Because, at that time, Archie was very popular with the TV series and everything. Or Snow White. I think they did a Snow White collection. I know they did a Cinderella because I do have some of the stuff from the Cinderella collection. They did Selena. I didn't get nothing from Whitney Houston. They did Aaliyah. I do have a few things from Aaliyah, but I wasn't really too satisfied with certain stuff. I felt like that was a flop, but we can say that for another day. And then I started seeing Mac just started fading away from doing collaborations, period. And that's when I started fading away into getting more into, I think by then Morphe had came on the scene, Milk Cosmetics came on the scene, Elf had already came on the scene. NYX was new, had came to the scene. Colored Rain had came to the scene, and then you had Juvia's Place coming to the scene and all that. So I kind of weaned away, never thinking twice would I ever apply back going to Mac. But I wanted to share this story because I wanted to give encouragement to someone is not to ever give up on your dream. I'm not gonna say I given up on my dream, but I have done some focusing elsewhere right now. And that's why I do my videos and hoping that they will get views, and that I love to talk back to people. But I wanted to share this story just in case somebody was having thoughts of wanting to work for Mac or wanting to work for any retail brand. And nothing hurts but a try. I mean, after 40 applications, I ended up, the 41st application got me the interview, but, a moment that was really not my fault really sabotaged it for me. I'm going to say that it just wasn't my time. at that moment, but I did have fun and I did have a good experience with hoping to be a Met girl. Like I just knew I was going to be at New York Fashion Week and all of that. And you know who knows? You know what I'm saying? You know nobody knows what the future holds, but that was that. That was that at the time. So I hope that this helps somebody.